Dude, if I just pulled out the the Overwatch patch notes and started analyzing that. I'm gonna talk about the Widowmaker nerf, the McCree nerf. Really think McCree just destroys the meta right now. It just suppresses tank picks, and now you can just pick Roadhog to counter pick the. Alright guys, welcome back. I'm gonna quickly go over the patch notes, so let me turn off the music real quick. So right now I think there are a couple problematic champions. I think that Rek'Sai is super strong. I would like to see nerfs on him. I think he kind of warps the jungle right now, being so strong after Kindred and Nidalee got nerfed so much. Rek'Sai kind of came up as, if not the premier pick, at least like a ridiculously strong pick. On top of that, I think that rest of the stuff is okay in terms of champion wise. Azir is pretty strong, and so is Victor. But I think there's like kind of multiple options mid lane. So, anyways, let's go see what happens. Patch 6.12. It's the ARAM patch. Decent amount of non-abyss changes, taking the opportunity to speak directly to Poro lovers. Okay, well, just as a warning, I don't really care about ARAM that much. So, any specific ARAM changes, I'm not really going to talk about much. Okay. Anyways, I'm going to keep going. So, champions. I think Corki is... It'd be nice if Corki was playable. Having an AP option as a bot lane is pretty good. So he got Valkyrie buff, okay. And Gatling gun buff. It's barely a buff. Oh, it's 4 ticks per second? Huh. 16 ticks over. Oh, so you can get full armor pen and magic pen in half the time. Okay, that's actually really good. The damage buff doesn't even do anything. The damage buff is really... Huh. How is it such a big spike? It goes up 60 here, and it goes up some random numbers here. The damage is about the same. It starts and ends around the same, but the middle, you do more damage per hit. Alright, whatever. But it's not that important. The important thing is that you can get the armor MR a lot earlier, which is really good. It also helps a lot for stuff like Cleaver. You can apply Cleaver probably instantly now. Auto attack and then a Gatling gun for 1 second will apply all 5 stacks of Cleaver. It's really good for Corki. I don't know necessarily if he needs that much CDR, but it's, I guess, a nice option to have. Fizz. I think Fizz is pretty strong right now, but we'll see. Hitbox increases. Base damage on W gets lower and E cooldown up. E cooldown is really big, actually. Like, part of the reason why I think Fizz exists is because Fizz's E is one of the strongest abilities in the game. He's super slippery, and he's supposed to be. I don't mind the base damage W nerf. I feel like the tank Fizz build shouldn't be that as effective as it is. So nerfing it isn't a bad idea. The E nerf, though, is pretty significant. 2 seconds off doesn't seem like much, but it's a difference between you being able to get like a E Zanya's E rotation where you're only alive for like, or able to be hit for like 2 seconds. The difference between 2 and like 3 seconds with 40% CDR is quite a big deal. Okay. But this does nerf tank Fizz quite a bit, which is nice. Thank God. I think that's good. That's really good. At the moment, I feel like there's already like Aurelia already beats Fizz 1v1 and Jax does as well. So I don't know how necessary these nerfs are, but they're decent. I feel like it shouldn't. I feel like it's okay. Like, it's not a bad nerf. Let's move on. Shaco. I don't think Riot ever really wants to buff Shaco. The champion itself is really ridiculous when ahead. And if Shaco's ever in a place where he's blind pickable in any kind of meta, I feel like everyone's just going to complain because he's just such a dominant snowball champion that can abuse champions really, really hard. So this is just clarification on backstab damage, is nothing different. Syndra, I feel like Syndra is really weak right now. A lot of her immobility, she doesn't do enough damage to offset it. Same with Brand. I feel like Brand really lost his laning ability, and although Syndra has quite a long range E, I feel like it's just generally not worth it to go into mid late game with Syndra being so weak. And so what they decided to do is to buff two of her AP ratios by 0.1. That's not bad. And I certainly think like Syndra's not in a great spot right now. She's just above average. And so maybe these will push her towards somewhere where she is maybe considered for certain picks. Xin Zhao, he's just super weak. And you take a base stat nerf or a buff, that's pretty good. That's anytime a champion's really weak, I don't mind base stat nerfs to compensate for it. And notice they didn't hit his damage; they just hit his tank, his survivability, and I think that's good. Him having more base health growth really synergizes well with his ulti, giving him like ridiculous amount of resist. And Xin Zhao also has a problem where when he goes in, he can't ever get out. So that's what separates a lot of melee champs, like the one-dimensional, like initiating and being unable to escape means that if you go in, you better have some kind of defensive steroid or something to be able to keep you alive or make you relevant during the times that you go in. No, I know it's a buff. I might have missaid it. Sorry. I understand that it's a buff. I opened with nerf and said it was a buff. W and R now have indicators. Oh, it's supposed to make it so when you're playing against that, you know which one is which. Okay, that's fine. It's not a big deal. I think Zed right now is not that great. He's really difficult to play into exhaust, and a lot of the mid lane matchups, he can't snowball hard enough to take advantage of matchups. I think now with tanks being less played top lane and carry junglers as well as range supports coming back to the meta, Zed might be surprisingly good. Like he might surprise people with how strong he is. But at least going into now, I feel like Zed's not as strong as he used to be. And I think only has very niche pick options, which might increase with the current patch. Infinity Edge, plus 5 AD. Nothing to say here. It's a straight damage buff. It's good. A lot of people skip IE first item, and usually you shouldn't build IE first item anyways, unless you're a very specific champion, because it doesn't give you that much. It multiplies based on how much crit you have, and so it's like a death cap for ADs, and more AD. This won't change anything, in my opinion. SSG for also gets 5 AD. So they think the item threshold for 6k gold isn't enough, so they're giving a lot of AD to AD items. I think that's fine. I think AD itemization is only feels poor because Yomu's is so strong right now, and the reason why Yomu's is strong is because you get like really strong mid game spike with it, and the scaling from these items don't necessarily out impact the immediate impact that Yomu's gives. And so they wanted to make crit more valuable generally overall. I think that's fine. Oh, Lord Dominic's gives 10 AD. Okay, so it's very niche. Lord Dominic's is the raw damage option, so even if you're playing against non-tanks, it does more damage. I think that's fine. You see a lot of people are going Mortal Reminder because it's really easy and it's really effective against a bunch of different options right now, like Vlad, Swain suck against Mortal Reminder, but sometimes you're playing like against Vlad, Swain, and you have an Ignite debuff through like your mid laner Morellos, and they have like a tank, like Lord Dominic should be a nice option. And just in general, Lord Dominic's, it seems like across the board, ADs are just getting a lot more AD here and there, like small amounts of AD here and there, which is good. I think AD itemization might be a little bit weak. Oh, more Reminder also got 10 AD? I guess just in general, they just wanted to give AD across the board. Alright, forget what I just said. Bilgewater Cutlass got cost decreased. You gain no stats by upgrading it. 400 gold at a steep price. Okay, that makes sense. I actually didn't realize you got no stats for the upgrade, so you just got the on-hit active, or not on hit, just the active portion. And I guess having the active portion cost 400 gold was really expensive. So the actual upgrades of Bork and Hex Tech Gunblade didn't get increased, but just the Bilge Water Cutlass got buffed. Nothing but good things for people who build both these items. Right now, Bork isn't very good, and Gunblade is very situational. You only really build it on Jax, and so this might be good for like 2 champions, but still like a good thing to have in the game. Youmuu's got nerfed. Yeah, just in general, Youmuu's is really cost effective, especially with the active. And I thought that, I guess what they think is that it is too good and too good across the board. It used to be like a bruiser only item, and then all of a sudden, like all these ADs are starting to build it. So rather than cutting it off of ADs yet again, they're just gonna nerf the AD by 5. It's still gonna be bought a lot. I don't really think Youmuu's is gonna go away, but I think ADs are gonna want to go the more crit itemization a lot more. Especially Manami users will be really happy with that. Roa, the cost increase and the mana restore is decreased. Okay, I think that's good. Overall, Roa is really good right now. I think people don't realize how good it is as a sustain item in lane, and I didn't think it was that good either, but I ended up buying it in a lot of different champions. It never feels bad, and so while it may not be the ultra AP cost effective item it was before they changed it to this, I still feel like it's a really good option. And nerfing it by 100 gold doesn't really change the relative value of it. The percentage mana conversion doesn't really matter, honestly. But the total cost increasing by 100, people are still gonna buy this, but it's just a little bit more expensive for it. It's fine. GLP I think is awful. I'm actually surprised they didn't buff GLP, because I think that GLP is very rarely bought. There's a cast animation on it which staggers you for a half second, which really annoys me. If they just remove that, I would enjoy GLP more. Just in general, a lot of people just don't buy this. I think it's seen 2 competitive games ever. Seraph built it in a LCS, and 1 EU LCS player built it as well. But aside from that, GLP is really not seen any play, and so I don't even think it's a niche item as much as it's just not very good. Which is why I'm surprised it's not getting more buffs. Righteous Glory, health on mana restore decreased. Okay, whatever. That's just overall the same exact thing. I think Righteous Glory right now is okay, but it's really hard to get on anything. I felt like the nerf that put it away from team utility into single target utility kind of made the item not great. Because unless you're playing Skarner or Volibear, really Righteous Glory doesn't really have a good use. And if you're playing one of those 2 champions, a lot of times I feel like you'd rather have the armor and health from Deadman's than just the raw health and mana from this. Oh, and Olaf gets this. So I guess there's like 3 champions I can use this right now, and Olaf gets Righteous Glory as well. I guess it has really fringe play at the moment, but I don't think it's very good after the nerf. But I guess if it's seeing fringe play, it's okay. Maybe it's not just supposed to be an item for everyone. Grass Today Dying is more damage and less sustain. Wow, they nerfed it again. Yeah, I always thought Grass was just like ridiculously OP. So what it does now, it does 5% more, 0.5% more of your damage, and it lose 1 full percent of your health restore. Okay, I think it's fair. I thought Grasp was really strong. Grasp and tank optimization is super good and what keeps tanks in the meta. The problem with this nerf is that tanks are already kind of shifting out of the meta with the advent of Triforce users like Aurelia, Jax. You see a lot of Fizz now, and so maybe this nerf came in a little bit too late. Like already the meta has kind of had to shift away from tanks, and the only really strong tank that's left up now is Maokai. I think Maokai is the premier tank, and everything else is kind of maybe not that great. But who knows? Maybe this nerf still need to happen. Fervor nerfed. Abilities give fewer stacks, so simply too good at what it does. Works great as a basic tactic's best friend. Okay, so they decided Fervor was too strong and give it only 1 stack per ability cast. I think that's fair. I think Fervor itself is still really good. It just means that you can't stack it up to 8 instantly. Fair enough. Double-Edged Sword. For some ranged champions, a risk-reward Double-Edged Sword doesn't hold a candle to the power of Feast. The benefits Double-Edged Sword offer to melee champions give them respectable value, so we're bringing ranged champions up to speed. No longer has split effectiveness. Oh, really? I'm down. Sometimes I feel like you don't need feast in certain lanes, but I pick it because I don't want to take more damage without doing more damage. But double edged sword will be now picked by champions like LeBlanc or Fizz, people who really want to all in you don't need the early sustain. I'm down. This actually is pretty nice for a lot of ranged assassins. So stuff like LeBlanc is probably the champion that you'll see the most with this because she's able to be a ranged champion that can farm and then look for all ins with double edged sword. I think it's pretty good. Natural talent. Natural talent. No one actually picked natural talent because the 2% lifesteal and spell vamp was just more effective. The actually because this took so long to be effective, while the lifesteal and spell vamp allowed you to sustain very small amounts of health throughout the lane, which was and being consistently topped off, which just felt better. So what's it do now? We decided to shift its power toward early game. The effects are earlier. Okay, so like I said before, natural talent takes too long to get up. So now they're doing it so where it starts earlier, even though it still gives 10 AD and 10 AP. I think that's okay. It's this is still more like a tank item, and champions who already have sustain will pick this up as well. Uh, I don't know if people will pick up natural talent more, but at least they recognize that it's not as good as vampirism, and so they're trying to buff it. I like what they're trying to do with it. Veteran Scars, more health. So now it gives up to 5 more health, 10 more health. Veteran Scars needs a nudge to compensate for runic armor. I think this is pretty irrelevant. 5 more health is nice, but it won't necessarily make you pick less or more. I just think runic armor is good, and Veteran Scars are good when you can't pick up runic armor. Oh, Howling Abyss. Q stacks and doubles, souls count twice, chime spawn faster. Okay. Oh, and then they buff summer spells. Oh, so this is actually just like a huge ARAM patch. Wow. Uh they did XP, home guard, gold pacing, health packs, terrain changes, and they're removing items from this. Oh my god. Okay. Um, I'm not gonna go over the ARAM notes just because I don't really play ARAM. I don't know how this is gonna possibly affect ARAM. I can guess, but I'm not very comfortable talking about it. And secondly, because I'm not very interested in ARAM patch note changes. So if you're interested in that, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to go over it by yourself. Anyways, let's go to this. This is really interesting. The remake. So if anyone DCs for the first 90 seconds, you just spam remake. And I think this is not so much important for me. I probably don't have anyone. I have maybe 1 in 40 games where this happens. But just having the option in the game is good. And so I'm glad they're adding it in. Oh, to prevent abuse of remake, Diamond 5 players and above will take a loss when a DC player is in their pre-made. Oh, wow. So they even have the idea that if people are going to use this and try to abuse this for boosting, they even put this in. That's pretty smart of them. I actually think that's really good. Okay, and it'll automatically prompt you for remake so you'll know that the option exists. All right, I think overall this is a great change. Champion Mastery, now on all maps. Okay, I don't really mind about that. Anything that is good here for bug fixes? Nope. Everything else looks good. I think that's it. All right, I'm gonna go back into queue, and I'm gonna play some mats. See you guys in 2 minutes.